Good day, good day. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Jay, and this is Homeschool Yo Kids podcast. Before we get started, I do a little housekeeping now. Make sure that you check out our website, homeschoolyourkidsexpo.com, to check out our traveling expo tour for 2025. We have a total of 14 states that we're visiting this year, so see if we're coming to a city near you. Also, remember, homeschooling was never meant to be done alone. It takes a village. So, major shout out to a couple of our sponsors that are mission to ensure that you find your tribe. So, be sure to check out Classical Conversations. It's a nationwide curriculum provider. They also provide community support. So, check them out. And then also Basecamp Ed. They are an amazing free app that encourages community building for homeschoolers. So check them out also. And I couldn't be more excited today. I've been trying to track this lady down. She is busy, 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 honey. Know that, okay? So, Reverend Janelle, introduce yourself.
Well, hello, Miss Jae. I am so excited finally for us to connect. This has been, I don't know how many months in the making,
Right.
but we're here. But yes, my name is Reverend Janelle Wood, founder, CEO of Black Mothers Forum, and now founder and CEO of School to Purpose Academies, our micro schools for pre-K now through 10th grade. We're real excited about the work we get to do for our children. But the reason why I'm here with Miss Jae is because we both share one passion, and that passion is to make sure our children have every opportunity to live out their God given purpose free from barriers and harm. And creating these safe and supportive learning environments is some where this is where we connect with you doing homeschools and us doing the micro schools. It's about us being responsible, and that's who you are. I admire you. I admire your work, and I consider it a privilege and an honor to be here with you today.
Oh my gosh, don't do that. I'm privileged. No, I appreciate that so much because you are a woman on a mission and you inspire me so so much. You have no idea. How did we
Mm.
get here? How did we get on this journey of Black mothers? Right,
hmm
Louis? Yes. How did we get here?
How did we get here? We got here because I do believe God called me to bring Black mothers together in 2016. It was initially to bring us together to address police brutality with respect to our young Black males and daughters being shot and killed by police and while they're unarmed. And there was this cry out from mamas across the nation for something to be done about it. And so on August 7th, 2016, we called a meeting. And we called it a Black Mothers Forum. I didn't know that was going to be the name of it, but we called a Black Mothers Forum, and 40 mamas came together, predominantly Black mothers of Black sons, came together to find out, figure out what are we going to do to make sure our children are safe in their communities. And that was the initial reason why we came together. As we continued to meet, because the mothers wanted to not only talk about it and fuss about it, but to do something about it. And I'm a woman of action. I don't talk very long. We talk and move. Above all, I pray and move. And so when we all came together, we decided we were going to start a nonprofit, educate other Black mothers, come together to become sister mothers. And no matter what our demographic, no matter where we came from, we all had that one thing in common. We want our children to live, and we want them to thrive. And we want them to be, like I said, all that God created them to be, free from barriers and harm. So that was the beginning. As we continued this work, we recognized that we couldn't hit every system that was causing these barriers for our children and putting them in harm's way. So we decided that our mission needed to be first to get educated. We're going to get organized around what we learned, and we're going to take action. Take action to do what? So then we had to narrow that down into our purpose and our vision. And with that, we decided that we were going to focus in on ending the school to prison pipeline, which we found to be one of the biggest impotents for our children being in these streets, uh, being discouraged from being educated because of all these zero tolerance policies and the disciplinary practices that were completely disparate and completely um, consistent and very harsh for our Black children in our public schools. So we were going to end the school to prison pipeline. We were going to promote healthy mindsets and promote healthy relationships. Those three things we believe would be the way we start to bring our children deal with all these different adversities. So started advocating, started teaching ourselves our rights, about student rights. And as we did that work, we started to realize that from 2016 to 2019, we are dealing with so many harsh cases of push out. Our children were being pushed out at 8 times the rate, especially our Black boys, and our
Mm.
Black girls were being pushed out here in Arizona at 6 times the rate of their white peers. These are our Black girls and our Black boys, and we said, enough is enough. We are going to stop this. And so what we did was we started going and challenging policies versus practices. Policy says one thing, but in essence, they're practicing these harsh disciplinary consequences for minor infractions. Unacceptable. So we
Mm.
started to challenge those, push back, and we were very successful in that. We also started filing many Office of Civil Rights complaints, and we were winning. Our parents were winning. So we realized we were onto something. But one thing we also realized is that we would wear ourselves out with the number of complaints. I was getting 2 and 3 complaints a week from all over the valley. And then come to find out this is happening all across the nation. So it didn't matter if they were in Arizona school, a Michigan school, Texas, Florida, wherever, our children, no matter who was standing in front of them, were still facing these harsh realities. And I started to really figure it out that it was the system. So it didn't matter whether or not I had a Black teacher, a brown teacher, a white teacher in front of our children. The system was designed to criminalize our children's behavior. And so that was enough. And in 2019, we started thinking about, we've got to figure out a way to create safe and supportive learning environments for our children. And it's going to be our responsibility as Black mamas, because no one else is taking that on. We're going to take it on. And in 2019, we discovered something called micro schools. Didn't know much about them, started to look into them. But in 2020, so God allowed it, we had this thing called the COVID pandemic. Schools were closed. Finally, parents got a chance to see what I was seeing on a daily basis. They actually got a chance to see what their children were learning, how they were being talked to by the teachers. And I don't have anything against teachers. I have nothing but love for teachers, and I have nothing against public schools. But what I tell people is I have a problem with the system that is in place that continues to demonize and criminalize Black children, allows them to be bullied, allows them to be pushed out, and above all, allows them to be really left behind. So, and they are behind not only socially, but and emotionally, but they're behind academically. And we as a people, our race of people, we know that education is critical for our children, because our children need these pathways out of poverty. And education has been one of the foundations that have helped us break up these impoverished communities when we have better education. So we knew that this is what we wanted to do. I became a learning guide, started our micro schools in 2021, January 2021, and we haven't looked back. We started with 13 students, K through 8th grade. We made a lot of mistakes, but one thing we didn't do is we didn't stop loving those children. They knew they were loved. They know that they're valued, they're special, and they have every right to demand a good quality education, and we're going to give it to them. And now we have served, I want to say, over the past 4 years, we've served about almost 182 students. So I just did a count. We've served 182 students who have come through those doors. Either they came in late and we got them ready to go to the next level, or they came and they stayed with us from kindergarten till today. We got our children that were in the 5th grade, they were on a 3rd grade and 2nd grade reading level. We've brought those children up today. Thank God they're reading not only on grade level, but 2 to 3 grades above grade level right now. So our focus is reading comprehension, because many of our children cannot read. And because they cannot read and they cannot comprehend what they're reading, they're going to do poorly on math. They're going to do poorly on science. They're going to do poorly in history, because they cannot comprehend what those problems are asking them to do or challenging them to do. They cannot read literature because, again, you have to comprehend. They cannot write a sentence because they don't understand what they're writing. All of it hinges on reading comprehension. That's our focus.
Mhm.
And I'm happy to say we just tested our children at the end of 2024, and 67% of our children are on grade level or above, which outranks the nation right now for reading. Our fifth graders across fourth graders across the nation are reading at 30%, and Black students are well below that.
Mm.
Unacceptable.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, you said a mouthful. Oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start. First, okay, let's the prison, school to prison pipeline. For those who are not familiar with that, can you
Hmm.
explain more? Because it's not a theory, it is a proven,
Reality.
yes. So,
So, so this school to prison pipeline is where many of our Black students who are either not reading at third grade. By third grade, that's usually an indication they start to build prisons because they're like, they can't read. We know the pathway and trajectory of their life. So that's a way for them to get to prison is when they can't read. They're definitely not gonna do well in school. They're gonna become disengaged. They're gonna do one or two things. They're going to fight their way out of school, and that means they're going to be disciplined harshly, and they're going to be suspended and expelled, which will continue to keep them further and further behind, which also puts them in harm's way because they're home. And when they're home and their parents are working, what else are boys and girls going to do? They're going to be in the streets, and then they're going to have these negative interactions with the police. And so with that, that puts them in the lineup to go to prison, right? Because they start to have juvenile detention and all these things. So that's one way to the school to prison pipeline. The other one is our students that are actually doing well in school. They do one little minor thing and now they're suspended. So now they're having minor infractions creating major consequences. And that now starts to disenfranchise that student. And that student too finds themselves suspended, sitting in an alternative school, and that continues to diminish their desire to get a good education. If you can't go and find gainful employment, you got to survive, and that now opens up the door for them to do petty crimes, find themselves doing drugs or whatever to make some money, and that puts them in the hands of drug dealers, hands of gun dealers, even human trafficking. All these things set our children up to go to prison, and so it's a real our prisons are made up predominantly of Black and brown communities, and high number of Black males are sitting in these prisons as a result of that. And many of them said, had they had a good quality education or an opportunity, they would not have found themselves in situations where they were doing petty crimes or engaged in things that would put them in harm's way with the police.
yes. I feel like I feel like we talked about this before, but I think I shared with you about a seventh grader who had never been in any trouble, never had any issues. But he got in a fight that was started by someone else. And I watched them handcuff this young man. And I was just like, what in the world? Oh my gosh, he doesn't, like that was like so alarming to me. But then the students talked about how normal them being picked on outside of the school by police was for them.
Mm-hmm.
And that
Mm-hmm.
I didn't, I, it was so heartbreaking to me that they had normalized police harassment. Like
Right.
that was a thing for seventh graders, though. These are middle school kids I was
I know.
talking to. So,
Mm-hmm.
you could just imagine the higher levels, but that's why I guess that's why I resonate so much with the work that you do and the passion that you have in everything. Because it's a thing that's definitely ignored a lot.
It is. It is. And that's the reason why, mothers like yourself doing your work, homeschool your kids, you took responsibility. Not many mothers can take that type of responsibility either because of their, economic situation, because of their oftentimes lack of confidence that they could actually homeschool their children. And so there's a lot of work to be done on the mentality of our mothers to recognize that we are their first teachers. We
Yes.
are our children's first teachers. We are their best teacher, and we should take that role seriously and stop handing our children over to a system that does not know our babies, does not care about our babies. All they want from our babies is that attendance dollar so they can continue to do the things they want to do. That's real crude and crass. And I know I sound very harsh on that, but that's what I've seen. It doesn't matter when people tell me they love the kids. They're like, Janelle, but I'm in teaching because I love the children. I said, I believe you do. Unfortunately, the system that you work for has a different um, intention for these children. And the system uses our children to be able to fund itself and to make itself bigger, bigger buildings, grander fields, football fields, and they use our children that way for athletics. A lot of our kids are being used for athletics. Uh, those children that do well academically, that school now gets some sort of recognition for them. But the children that don't do well, and that's a high number that are struggling in schools, we just discount them. And they also deserve an opportunity to grow and an opportunity to grow at their pace and an opportunity to grow based on their learning style and preference. And that's something that the system will not do. It will not look at each child's preference. It only looks at what makes it comfortable, the system, and it will teach to its comfortability. So we're going to teach to the middle. The system says teach to the middle. Jay, you were in this. You know this thing. They teach to the middle. They don't teach to the child who's above the middle. They don't teach to the child who's below the middle. They teach to the middle. And oh well, if you are bored, oh well. If you can't figure it out, oh well, because this is our plan for today.
Yes. No, you're
And
absolutely right.
so we decided that no, 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 ma'am, no, sir. We're no longer going to be down with that. We're not going to accommodate that. We're no longer going to accept that. And so, with that came great responsibility on our part to take the reins and say we are going to educate our children. Black people are no stranger to educating our children. How many schools have started as a result of Black women, especially Black mamas coming together saying, that's enough. We're going to take this over and we're going to take care of our kids. We've had the Rosenwald schools. We've had schools, the Freeman School. We had all these schools. You know why they closed? Is because there was no mechanism, no funding mechanism for sustainability.
Mm.
We fought for that funding mechanism in Arizona, and it's called the Empowerment Scholarship Account, universal ESAs. And with us fighting for that and having a governor, former Governor Ducey, willing to pull the trigger and sign that bill into law, and we had legislators that fought the good fight. We had homeschool mamas fighting that good fight with us. We all came together and said, this is what we want. It passed in 2022. Our children now in our micro schools are 100% ESA students. They're doing well. They're happy. They're smiling. They have their identity. Their parents now are happy. They're smiling. They have a culture now that they never had before. They feel included. They feel they belong. The parents do. The
Mhm.
children feel included. They feel they belong. And now we've tailored their learning plan. Now it's tailored based on their needs. They are growing. ESAs are not vouchers. I believe there's a lot of rhetoric and mythology going on in the nation about what these empowerment scholarships, or they call them education savings accounts, are. But they are for us to use now to put together now a new system that actually helps our children learn, thrive, and grow. And we now have the ability to not only fund them initially, but to use them for sustainability for years to come. So now we can have these programs in place that actually cater to our children without shame. Because
No.
right now, a lot of our educators have been taught that our Black children are bad and they have a problem and they can't learn, so they always leave our children behind, even Black educators, and I've seen that, and they continue to go along with the system just to get along and keep their job. They don't have to do that anymore. Our Black educators can actually come out of the system like you did, Jay. Come out of the system, utilize ESA dollars, and take care of the needs of their children, whether they do that for homeschool purposes or micro school, even start their own private school. They now have a funding mechanism in place to do so. And so I'm really happy to be here because I want to make sure we understand that, and so that we can get more and more of our Black families to look at the University ESCs here in Arizona. They are there are ESAs in several other states. We are one of the most, we're the gold standard for ESAs at this point.
Yeah, I want to say 14 states that have
Mhm.
some form of ESA. Don't quote me on that, but I do want to say it. I
I think
believe
it's
there's
about
at least,
13 to 14,
yeah.
but they're not the same. And so
Yeah,
you have to
no,
read
they're
them.
different everywhere.
They have a lot of different restrictions. We started out with conditions in 2011. We had conditional ESAs, mainly for special needs students and students who were in D rated schools and their parents needed them to be there. Also, people don't realize public schools actually refer children to private schools, and they have used ESAs for those several years here in Arizona because when a public school cannot provide the resources to fulfill an IEP or some sort of special service that a child may need, they have oftentimes recommended families utilize ESA so their children can get the services that they need. So public schools are no stranger to it, and they understand what it is. The ESA also, people don't realize, it helps for college. Our children can, once they start on ESA, those dollars can roll over that they don't use each year, and they're about $7,000 for universal, and then it can be anywhere from 20 to 40,000 for special needs children as far as the dollars. But for our universal students and special needs students, if you don't use the dollars that have been distributed to you per quarter, that money rolls over. And
Mm,
so now you have almost like a savings. It's an empowerment scholarship account. That's an account that actually grows. And so it can grow each year. And by the time the child is 18, they have money for college. See, people don't tell you that, but that can
mm,
be used for college dollars. It can be used for vocational school. It can be used for certification. It can be used for their books. There's so many things now that the child has money to do to fund from 18 to 22. They can still be on ESA, and they take over their own ESA when they turn 18.
Okay, yeah, you teaching me, honey. I didn't know all this either. So this
So
is awesome.
So it's awesome. Black families, if we don't have a college savings fund, here's how you do it. You put your children in ESA. They have to go to private. Right now, it's only for private schools. And that's fine because then we can actually tailor their curriculum for what they need. And so I love the flexibility and the freedom and the autonomy we have with ESA. Our children are loving it. They are free to move about the cabin and to become and free to become who they were created to be.
Right. Yes, I love that. I want to back up some though, because I love what you started and we're doing with the Black Mothers Forum. What were you doing with the complaints that you're receiving? Because, like you said, not all of us are able to homeschool our kids, but you can go in there and advocate for your
Hmm.
kid.
Hmm.
So speak on the what you were doing with the complaints that you were receiving for schools. Or
Yes.
yeah.
So what we did was we got educated on how to advocate. I'm a little bit of a nerdy geek. I love to read. I read contracts. I came up, I was an economic major. I'm a leadership development, got my master's in leadership development. So I do a lot of reading. And what I did was I read these school policies. Then I also worked with the ACLU of Arizona, and they taught me how to advocate. They taught me how to extrapolate data, request certain data points so I could use that data, interpret it, and then use it for the changes we wanted to see. So I learned how to take the data that I found on disproportionate disciplinary practices. So first I just had to deal with that. Once we got complaints in, then I was able to go in with the families because I'm now an advocate. We had three or four of us that became advocates. And we went into the schools with the parents, oftentimes who were intimidated by 3 or 4 people coming to the room with something called doctorate degrees, Dr. So and so, Dr. this, and Dr. that. And it would intimidate the families. But because we were trained advocates, and I actually was able to listen to what the school was telling the parent, allow the parent to be the parent. Parent's emotional. This is their child. I'm the advocate in the space. I'm the one listening, taking notes, and now I'm ready to ask the questions that need to be asked to get this child out of this situation. So we were able to get to block many suspensions. We were able to block expulsions. And then when they went on and did this egregious act anyway, we were able to set up documentation to support an Office of Civil Rights complaint. We would help parents file those, and then we help parents file so many. Office of Civil Rights just told me to file them myself. They said, Ms. Wood, Black Mothers Forum has filed so many or helped these families. You can actually file them now in your name, and you can just put them all in a group. So we started filing them, and we were winning because we had the documentation to support that policies weren't lining up with practices. That was the thing. We were finding that many of our Black children who were being suspended for 10 days and 20 days was just egregious because the policy would say if a child did this once, if this is the first time they did this or something like that, it would only be like a warning or something that would be in writing, but they would not be suspended. But our children were being suspended. Parents were not getting the opportunity to come in and speak. They weren't getting the proper documentation. And so what we did was we started to challenge these schools, not only the principals, but then we started going to school board meetings. We started training parents on how to speak at school board meetings and to speak up and to put things out there in the atmosphere for other parents to realize, wow, I wasn't just the only one this happened to. This is happening to many. And we were able to bring groups of parents together to make significant changes, like in Chandler. We were able to bring in 100 community members at one time because of their egregious racial inequities as far as how they were dealing with racial bullying in Chandler School District. And when we did that, we challenged the board. We brought student after student, parent after parent up to that podium. We did a lot of civil disobedience. We did not care about their little 2 minute. You only have 2 minutes to speak. Okay,
Right.
whatever. We're gonna stay in here until we get our point across. And so what we did was we learned to build on that. We were able to tell one parent, okay, they're only gonna give you 2 minutes. What's your topic? We wrote their script. Then the next parent would build on that since they had 2 minutes, and we would just build it out. Then we got so bold where we were like, you know what? We're gonna have everybody come in and sign up to speak, and then we're gonna yield our time to those who need more time. The school districts didn't like that. They were like, "You can't do that." Yes, we can, because there's nothing in your school in your handbook that says we can't. And they had to go confer with their attorneys. We did this for several of them. They would have to go confer with their attorney, and the attorney go, "They're right. They can yield their time to somebody else." And that would give a parent who really had a grievance 15 minutes to speak. We yield our
Mm.
time. And I'd have a lot of community members just show up to the meeting just to request to speak, even though they weren't going to speak. And we would already identify the ones that we knew were going to speak, and we'd write their speech out according to how many minutes we could get for them to speak. And we just all yield our time.
Nice. No, I feel like that's so important for parents and families to understand because never do I act on the account of I feel everyone should be homeschooling their kids full time.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
do feel everyone should homeschool their kids in regards to everyone should be supplementing their children's education at home. Everyone
Right.
should be a part of their children's education, should be leading their children's educational journey, no matter the school setting. But being able to advocate or knowing how to advocate for yourself, your family, your children is so important because a lot of parents think that once they send their children in those doors, that's it. Like whatever they say goes. Like you said, the
Mm-hmm.
big doctor, they got the doctorates and all that good stuff. Like, oh, okay, they got way more paperwork than me. So let me go ahead and let them do or say whatever it is they want to about my
Mm-hmm.
child. No, I need
Mm-hmm.
parents to know, like, no, you can go up in there and you could challenge everything that's being said.
Right.
Um,
And we did know your rights training. So we did know your rights training once a month.
I love that.
There would be 4-hour trainings. We not only teach them about the Constitution, the constitutional rights, but we would also teach them about the state rights to their child's education. And then we would teach them about their student handbook, where they go to understand where these things are, the forms that they needed to fill out, because parents oftentimes will say, I called up to the school and I complained about this. I did this. I said, yeah, you called, it was verbal. They can always say, I deny. It's called plausible deniability. I am going to deny that I had that conversation with you, or I don't recall. I sent them an email, Miss Wood. I put it in writing. Yeah, you didn't put it on the form. See, there's a form
Mm-hmm.
that they have at districts offices that are called grievance or bullying. So if they're saying, hey, my child was being called names, they were calling it the N word. Well, they don't care that your child was called the N word. What they care about is whether or not your child was bullied. So you have to say, my child was being bullied, because name calling falls into the category of bullying. So if you don't use the proper verbiage, you don't get the proper assistance that you need and your child deserves, because you didn't say it right. Many parents don't know that. So we went through training on what you need to say, what verbiage you need to use. This is how you practice this. So we put them through practice. So we do parent advocacy 101 training. We do know your rights training on the laws. And then we put it together at the end of it. It was 4 hours. And at the end, they do role playing. So you get comfortable saying these things, comfortable preparing for the meetings. We even had a checklist of how to prepare for a meeting with the school, so that you leave nothing out. And the main advice I give to every parent dealing with any public school, private school, charter school, whatever, you take someone else with you. You never want to be in that meeting by yourself. You need someone who's equipped to take notes and to listen while you're talking. And when they're talking, you need someone in the space to listen so that they can ask the proper questions, because you are in emotion. And at the time of your emotion, you'll miss stuff that they're saying, but the other person will not, and they will be able to bring this thing home. The other thing we used to do is tell the parent, what is it that you want to accomplish in this meeting? Never go into a meeting not knowing what you want to accomplish. What is the outcome of this meeting? Do you want the suspension revoked? Do you want the child to have a safety plan moving forward, or do you want both? Or do you want the child to have a plan in place so that when they re-enter school, they now will be caught up? What do you want to see happen at this meeting? Because I promise you, the school district and the principal already have a plan for you. You need to make sure you go in there with your plan and have your own agenda, because you actually are in command and you have authority. People don't realize that. So we used to go in there with our own plan. They had me a little agenda and they would submit it to us. And I would slide that to the side and say, here's what we're here to do today. This is what's about to happen today. And the parent and I would have already met. We meet with them, we lay out what we want, and then we go from there. It used to mess them up because they already had a plan for you. Mm-mm. I have a plan for you, and you're going to adhere to it because I'm the parent. We have the right. You work for us. You serve our children. Our children don't serve you. You serve them. You work for us. You don't have a job unless I send my child here for you to educate them. We've got to get into the mindset that we are in control.
Yeah, say it again, honey. Say it
Mm,
again.
We are
I
in
feel like
control.
yes, I feel like we need Black Mother Forum chapters all over the nation. Like I feel
I
like
want that.
we need you to have one of those in all the states, all 50. I-
Hmm. Yeah, we need
Definitely.
to. I believe our mothers, we have so many mothers with so much knowledge and so much information. And we just need a place where they can come together and get that information out to as many mamas as possible. Uh, the more we come together, like we do the Mothers Rally. The reason why
Yeah.
we started these Mothers Rallies during the kickoff National School Choice Week is we bring in Black mamas from across the nation. We all have the same problem we're dealing with. Doesn't matter, like I said, what state, we all have the same problem with the system that is in place that has completely had an adverse impact on many of our Black children. Maybe 15, 20% tops, and that's generous. I'm thinking maybe 10 to 15% of our Black students across the nation have a relatively good experience in public schools because they're either athletes or they have parents that are on top of it, and these children are actually able to navigate the system in a way that keeps them out of trouble. But the majority of our Black children do not navigate the system well. The majority of our students are not athletes, right?
Right.
They are not going to get that special privilege treatment. And the majority of our parents do not have, I mean, our students don't have parents that fully understand what's going on and they're working. And so, what we have to do is come together as one. Collectively, we have more power. And what we did with ours is every parent that was with us, we were able to become their emergency contact. So the beauty of having Black Mothers Forum is if you as a parent can't go on site to take care of your child, when you have Black Mothers Forum in your area, now you have surrogate mamas that do have the time to go on
Yeah.
campus and fight for the rights of your child. And these are women that you now trust. Your children get to meet these women at the meetings because every monthly meeting we were having, the parents they would bring their children. We always tell them, bring the kids so the children get a chance to know us and we get a chance to know them. We're the
Mhm.
emergency contact. Oftentimes, my name has been on as an emergency contact. One of our advocates, several of our advocates have been named as emergency contacts because we have the flexibility during the day to run up to that campus and figure out what's going on. We've had our card, our children have our cards with them so they can call us. If they can't get their mama, they call us, right? So this is what this is about. So you, mama, can go to work, mind your business, know that somebody's there to fight for your child, because all you got to do is pick up the phone and say, you know what, they're messing with my child again. Miss Janelle, can someone go over to the school? I can't get off work right now, but I put your name as an emergency contact, so I'm going to let them know you're going to come and deal with it. Do you know I had a superintendent of schools call me when the mother, they called the mother and she said, I can't make it. Call my emergency contact, and I'm down as emergency contact. And they called me and they said, you're not family. I said, who said that? And that's not in your policy. Your policy
Mm.
didn't say the emergency contact had to be a blood relative. I'm looking at it right now. Let me read it to you. Because I read,
Yes. The
couldn't
more
get
you
around it.
know.
So
Yes.
so then they say, well, we don't want you to come up here. Uh-oh. The principal, you're going to intimidate the principal. I said, well, that's really interesting. You're going to intimidate her and make her feel uncomfortable. And I said, and she makes our baby feel uncomfortable all the time.
Mhm.
So who's more important? I mean, who's more vulnerable here? I said, you're the adult, your principal is the adult. She is supposed to be trained to handle any situation. But the children, it is not their responsibility to make the grown adult feel comfortable. That's
Mm.
backwards. We are in reverse. But they expect our children to take on ownership of someone else's feelings and take on the responsibility to make sure they feel comfortable. Unacceptable. So
Yeah.
I told them I was coming up to the school because the mother couldn't make it. She told me, if you come up to the school, Mr. Nell, we're going to be forced to call the police on you. I said, please let them know I'll be there at 3:45. I
Meet
should,
me there.
I should be pulling in the parking lot about that time. Please let them know I will be there. And because I know you can't arrest me, I'm going to be on public property. Public schools are on public property. You
Mm.
can't tell me I cannot come on public property when our taxpayer dollars pays for that property.
Mm.
And I have not threatened anybody. I'm coming to ask some questions of why this child is being suspended today.
Yes, and you're listed. You are listed as on the contact.
So I'm a contact. Parents put me down. I'm coming. They didn't want that, right? But that's how we do this. That's how we, make sure that we do things that are decent and in order for our children, and that's how we advocate. And that's what Black Mothers Forum has been doing. We become the surrogate mamas. We train up the mamas. They can advocate for their children, but have one of us there so that we can make sure you don't miss anything. Because they throw little curveballs, and we like, yeah, we know that too. Because I've seen it. I've seen every little thing that they could possibly throw at a parent. I have been in so many meetings since 2016. I've pretty much seen all the little plays, and I'm like, that I already know how to refute that, but I let them say it and then we refute it.
Yes, you're being the village. Y'all are being the village that parents need.
Hmm.
I think, divide and conquer has definitely been in full effect forever. And so
Hmm.
we've come to a place where parents don't feel or think that that village isn't relevant anymore or
Hmm.
non-existent. But like you're showing, no, honey, we here. The village is here.
And social media is not going to get it. We can put in all the memes and all cute little sayings, and we have somebody on TikTok singing about it and tell and do it, and that's real cute. I think that's so cute. But when it's time to go sit in a meeting, where is social media then?
Mm. Oh no, you can't pull up the meme like, look at this. Look what
Look at
she
this
say
meme.
here.
What she's saying.
Look what she say here.
There's nothing like being in person.
Yes.
It's nothing like being visible and present. And now I ask you to say that to my face. That thing you sent via email, say it to my face.
Please say it with your chest. Please
You
say it
say it,
with your chest.
say it with your chest because you better own it because we
Yes,
already have
ma'am.
something for you. And it's totally different when I meet with them in person. All the little harsh words they said in the email to the parent, then I come on board and now let's have the conversation.
Tone on switched up a little bit.
Yeah. So tone switches, folks start to shake. I've seen many hands shake.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
all we did was come in person. We weren't even there angry. I wasn't there angry because I understood what needed to happen. And I believe when we show up with parents, they feel better because they're like, I know, I feel confident that you understand what's getting ready to happen here, Miss Janelle, or my advocates that we have. And I'm no longer uptight. I'm not anxious and I'm not mad because I know we're getting ready to get the resolve we need today. And,
Yes. And
and
that's
that's what happens.
yeah. And I feel like parents have to understand that the prejudgment is real. Like a lot of
Mhm.
schools definitely bank on you not knowing or not understanding the policies, procedures, anything, or it being invested in general. And that's why I
Right.
always tell and remind parents, you got to let this school know you don't play about this one. Like, hey, this
No,
mine right here. Like, you can't play with them. And they have to see you. That you got to be present. Show up at those open houses. Show up at those meetings, parent-teacher
right.
conferences, anything. Like show up, because they have to see you in order for them to really understand. Oh yeah, no, we can't play with him. His mama
No.
crazy.
Yeah.
His mom, his
Mama,
mom will get
mama, stop
active.
playing.
Yes,
Yeah, she's gonna hold me accountable. And
yes.
and that's what we do really well. And they're always worried about black mamas coming in because we always have that look. They always say we're the angry black mama. I said, no, I'm not angry. I'm determined. There's
Mm,
total difference. We're not angry. We're determined. And
indeed.
and so we correct that. I'm not going to let you put that label on me today. I'm determined to make sure this child gets what's coming to them, a good quality education. That's what we're determined to do. And I'm also determined to make sure that you don't prejudge this child and that you don't put a label on my child. I'm determined
Mm,
to make sure that that doesn't happen. And so, whether you want to call that angry or not, that's on you. But I don't accept that label. I'm just determined, and I know why I'm here and what I'm here to do. And I'm determined to make sure our child gets what they stand in need of before we leave this meeting. I'm determined to have every outcome that I set out to get today actually be fulfilled. I'm
yeah,
determined to get that done. And we don't leave here until we get that done. So we got to
right.
be
I
here for 2
know.
hours. Your meeting was scheduled for an hour. I'll be here for 3 to 4 hours until we get what we want. And I always tell parents that I said, I know they scheduled it for an hour, but we may be here 4 hours. Are you
Mm,
willing to go the course? Maybe so you think I just need to take the rest of the day off? I would suggest take the rest of the day off because we're not leaving here till we get what you said you needed to get for this baby.
yes. Oh my gosh. And to understand, like, this is why you're so dope too. Your baby's not in school. Like, you
No.
have an adult baby, because a lot of these micro school or advocates in general are because, like, oh, we still have our own. Like, my stuff is birthed because I have an 8 and 11-year-old, and also because of my time spent in the public school classroom. That all fueled this, but your fuel came like after your baby was long gone, and you was like,
Mhm.
"Hey, no, oh no, I need to be active, and this is what I'm gonna do with this voice."
Yeah, yeah, and again, I told you I was called to it. I was
Yeah.
minding my business. I was on countdown mode. To be honest, I was like, woo, we out of elementary school. Now we in middle school. Woo, we out of middle school, we in high school. Woo, we out of high school, we in college. Woo, and then he went to grad school. We out of undergrad, go to grad school. And then when we did his last graduation, I was so excited. I was like, wow, me and my husband did it. He's got his master's. He can get a gainful employment. We gonna go home and live our best life. I'm just gonna be focused on my husband, and we just gonna live, and we're gonna be empty nesters. And then the Lord called me up and said, "I want you to go to Black Mothers." And I said, "For what? What am I talking to Black Mothers about?" And that happened in 2014. Started nudging me. Took me 2 more years. Took me 2 years to get, to really start to make the move, because I was really rather content with
Mm,
just living my best life and just doing things. But God, as He would have it, I told Him, I surrendered my life to Him. I said, "You can use me however you want to use me." And He decided He wanted to use me this way, because I already know what it means to be a mama. I'm a Black mama, and I've raised a Black son in America, which is one of the toughest groups to raise in America, because of all of the stigmas surrounding Black males. And America is usually threatened when they get older and they get taller and they get bigger and their voice deepens. And so I've had experience of
mm,
navigating the system. I didn't know what was going on when I had to keep moving my son from school to school, because somebody was trying to label him as a pedophile because some girl put a collage of Beyonce in his locker, and the school found out and said, "He's got soft porn in his locker, so we're going to make him a sex pedophile." I said, "The devil's a liar." And I moved him into a safer environment. And I moved him into a magnet school where the principal was a Black male. And so that
mm,
was a safe space for him, because now we have a Black man running the school, and he was comfortable with Black male, students. So I had to get him away from females,
mm,
because the female administrators were threatened by him and they wanted to label him. And so, had I not been moving him all over creation, and I moved him from one school to the next, not knowing that I was seeking a safe and supportive learning environment for him. But he never got a discipline record. I wasn't going to have it. Every time they threatened to put something in his record, he was gone. I was like, "Give me all this stuff, we're out." And many parents don't know they can do that. Oh,
yeah,
your
right.
stuff is out. Prevent that from happening, right? But now they try to put it on there before, and so we have to appeal and get that expunged. And so we've done that work too, where we're like, you're going to remove this from their record. This will not be
Mm,
following them, because that's going to follow them throughout wherever high school. And then it also impacts them, their ability to go to college, because colleges see all of their records.
yes.
Parents also need to be asking for their child's discipline records, student records, every semester. You need to request a copy of your child's records. If your children are in public school, request their records every semester, because I promise you, they've been referred to the office. You did not know it. They sat in
Mm,
the office all day. You did not know it. And they came home. Those referrals build up to suspensions. See, we don't know that. They had in-school suspension. You probably didn't know that either. And they've been sitting in the office. You're thinking they're in class. They're falling further and further behind because they've been in-school suspension all day. You probably didn't
mm,
know that either. You probably didn't receive a piece of paper that was supposed to come home to let you know that, because they, for some reason, forget to send those things home. And then
mm.
when your child is suspended for 10 days, you are shocked because you're just now hearing about this one incident. And they're like, "No, we've been having problems with your child." What are you talking about?
Right, right.
And so if you would be intentional about requesting those, that is something you need to do every semester. The other thing we're telling parents to do is you need to put in writing that the teachers and the administrators are not to interview your children on any incident that happened at that school without your presence, either
Mm,
virtually or on the phone or in person, or an attorney. Because the way they set this up, they treat our children like criminals. They criminalize behavior, and they treat them that way. These school resource officers, who are police officers, they have not been reading your child their rights, their Miranda rights, because they're now considered an employee or someone of the school. And now they have access to your child's records, and they have access to your child, and they can question them without doing the Miranda rights. That's another violation of your rights. Your children still have the same constitutional rights you have, even in school, but many of those rights are being waived, and we don't even know it.
Hmm. I'm glad you said that too, because a lot of people look at kids or young little people, as I call them, and think that these people are not a part of the world already. It's like, oh, when you get in the real world, when you get in the real world, it's like, what world do you think they living in already?
Right.
Like, where do you think they're at?
They, and so my issue with the school resource officers is that they become somewhat of a threat, or they are a threat to our Black and brown children, because of the labels and the perceptions of criminality, and they attach that to our children's behavior. They haven't broken the law. It was a discipline matter. But because they were trained to apprehend suspects and, and arrest felons or criminals, they don't know the difference. And so they're being used as disciplinarians and criminalized in a discipline, versus the child actually breaking the law. Child's not
Yeah.
law. They write up the reports. We have suspect, that's criminal. That's police talk. The
Mhm.
suspect in question, the victim, the witness, all of that is legal talk. Okay, they were assaulted. This
Mhm.
they hit them. So and so hit so and so. That's they hit them. No, they assaulted them. They're assault and battery. I was like, oh my God. So they're using all of this criminal terminology, and they're putting that in your child's record. Now think about that. That's a problem. Your child didn't assault and battery somebody. They hit them back because the person hit them first. But the way it reads is like your child is the one that initiated the activity.
The aggressor.
It was the aggressor, and they always put us as an aggressor. I had a young lady out in the West Valley. She was freshman, her first year in school. She's tall. She was tall for her age. And the older boys used to tease her and call her names. They called her lots of names, Bigfoot, all the things.
Mhm.
Um, and they called her by the color of her skin. You know, you're so black. All that mess they did to her. So she was trying not to get into anything with them, and she kept avoiding it until one day at lunch, the older boys walk up to her, they surround her, and he's talking, telling her all about herself. He's in her face. The cafeteria workers are sitting on the side. They're watching this. So they're watching it. They sit there and they see what happened. And the boy pulls his fist back. And okay, what's next? What are we about to do? So she's thinking, I'm about to get hit. I'm not going to let him hit me in the face. What I'm not going to do is let this happen. So he comes towards her face, and she goes blank. Cleans up that whole cafeteria, tears him up. He should not have initiated that. She finished it. He didn't know what hit him.
Literally.
He didn't know what hit him. They so he's a white boy. He goes to the office and goes. She gets to go to the principal's office, and they actually call the police. They lock down the campus. They said she's an imminent danger. She's a threat.
Mm.
Down the whole campus because she's a threat. They won't let her call her mother, but
Oh,
she's like,
wow.
my mom. You're going to answer our questions. She said, but I want my mom, because her mother didn't have anything in writing saying that you can't question my daughter with. She didn't know she had the right to say, I do not. I wish to remain silent until my mother gets here.
Mhm.
They told her she couldn't get her phone back until she told them what they needed to hear. Then they'd let her call her mom. Her sister happens to be on campus, and her sister calls the mom and says, hey, mom, my sister is in the principal's office. She had a fight. So that's how mom finds out. Mom gets to the campus. They won't let mom in to talk to her daughter. They were like, we got your daughter detained like a criminal, and You won't be able to see her until she gives us a statement. Mom doesn't know her rights.
Mm.
So, okay, the boy's parents, the one who started the fight, his parents who are white got to walk right on by her because
Oh,
he's at
wow.
his office. They take him away to get medical attention. She's taken away in handcuffs. And she's arrested.
What?
Hmm. And that's how we got involved because parents called us. Somebody said, call Black Mothers Forum. They're going to come help you with this. And we did. It was crazy, and that spurred community know your rights training in that community. So we were able to host multiple know your rights trainings as a result of that in that community, and we were able to help them fight. The school district was we had to go to the school board to appeal the decision to expel her for the whole year. They were said she was in imminent danger. They expelled her for the whole
Mm.
year. We went to fight that. And what was so sad is that one of the school board members, who was a Black woman, she's the one that said no, she needs to be expelled. She didn't fight for her. She didn't empathize with her, and she was the main one expelling a Black sheriff, which really broke my heart. But this is the system.
Mm. Yeah.
She said we have zero tolerance for fighting, and I went in there and explained to her she wasn't fighting, she was defending herself. This boy went well, she said he was just playing with her. Mm,
Mm-mm. We don't play like that.
yeah. And
Mm-mm.
so I said, so you would rather her been hit in the face? Yeah, she should have been hit in the face, then he would have been the one in trouble.
Mm. And then playing, using the word that she was playing with, that entails us being friends. Like we're
Right,
not even friends. So how
right.
we playing?
So,
Yes.
so this was a bad situation. I was really sad that that Black school board member was the main one that moved to expel this child for a year, and this was right before COVID. So she went on to some online classes, and it turns out all the rest of the kids had to go online because of COVID. So she
Mm.
didn't lose too much, but I was glad she was out of an unsafe environment. And after that, of course, we lost contact because COVID, made a lot of people scurry and
Mm.
scatter and do things that we would have not normally seen. So,
Right.
but those are some of the egregious. I've had many,
I know. I know.
and I'm sure that there are people that are listening to your podcast that have some similar or worse situations. And all I have to say is, I'm sorry that you've all gone through that. It's unfortunate. You're not alone, but you got to go get educated. And you just can't wring your hands. And we all got to come together so that we can stop this. It's only going to get worse right now because of what's happening. There's going to be more school resource officers in our public schools. That is inevitable. There's more money going towards that because the teachers want the school resource officers there because the teachers don't feel safe with our children in the space. And my thing to teachers, love you all dearly, but if you don't feel safe with the children that you're supposed to serve, then perhaps you may look at something else to do.
Oh, say it again.
Yeah, if you don't feel safe with the children that you're supposed to serve, you perhaps need to look for something new to do because children know when you fear them, they will act up on you. But when they know you love them and you're there for them, they will respect you. And because you respect them because you love them, then it's a mutual thing going on here. And you don't have to be fearful of walking those halls because they will respect you. As a matter of fact, they'll protect you. Because I'm in that position now with our micro schools. We have children coming in
Yes.
from all over. They've had a lot of stuff going on in their life. But the moment they walk through the doors with us and they know we love them, and above all, we're not playing, they know we're here for some business and that I expect 100% excellence. And I know that they can give me that. I believe in them. Our team believes in them. They know we love them. We hug them. We tell them those things, but we also don't let them get away with anything. We challenge them on certain things, and they come to expect that. They can get upset, get happy, get so glad. I don't care what you're going through. You're gonna sit here and do what you came here to do today, and that's to learn. You're here to learn today. Your parents sent you here to learn, and that's what we're going to accomplish. So get yourself together. Go on, throw your little pity party over here. When you're ready to get back into it, to get back to what you were called here to do today, then let's go back to it. but you're
Yeah.
going to accomplish what you were called here to do today. Are we
Yeah.
understood? And in between tears and crying and all the extra stuff, you
Because
know,
it's a transition. It's something they have to get used to,
yeah, they
especially
have
with the attention
ownership.
being on them. Yes, because in the classroom, a standard classroom, the attention is not on the individual student. The
Mm-hmm.
attention is on the class. Now,
Mm-hmm.
attention only become on the individuals if you causing issues or
Right.
you're disruption. But for the most part, it's whole class. So
Mm-hmm.
micro school settings allow for more individualized attention,
But
and so it's a transition for them.
and they want to hide. So the older students, they they are so upset when their parents bring them over to the micro school because now they cannot hide.
Hmm.
They can't get on YouTube. They can't paint their nails in class. Can't get on the phone. They can't listen to music. They can't play with TikTok. You actually are seen, like we visibly see you. And now we're going to talk to you about what your goals are or what they should be. And then we're going to start where you're at. And now you're going to set your plan. And you now know what you have to do each week and each day. You're responsible to get those things done. Like adults, we know there are days where you don't feel like doing it all. Like you like, I don't have it in me today. I don't feel good, or I just got something going on. Okay. But do know that this has to be done by the end of the week? I do know that. And I will make that up tomorrow. That's responsibility.
Yes.
Responsibility for their learning, especially by high school. They definitely have responsibility, and we give them that responsibility, and we allow them to wrestle with stuff, struggle through stuff. It's called healthy struggles. I'm not going to give you the answer. I'll ask you questions, get you to get to it. We'll do whatever we can, but you will get the tools you need in order to solve that, or you'll get the tools you need in order to read that. We'll teach you how to read. Many of our high schoolers are coming in very, very deficient in reading and reading comprehension. And so we're having to catch them up to their grade level. And some of them are several grade levels behind, which is very unfortunate because what in the world have you been doing
Mm,
school? We have two lawsuits that I've heard about that you
yeah.
about. I'm going to encourage parents to look into that because many of our children were allotted dollars from our public tax money. Public tax dollars were allotted for per year for your child to get a good education. And when your child comes out of school and not able to read or write or do their math and not able to solve problems or able to take care of themselves, what happened was someone wasted that money. They did not fulfill the promise that this state said they were going to do, or any state. And now somebody needs to pay for that.
Mm.
So I believe these lawsuits are timely. It's time for us to take a look at that. I'm radical enough to start to turn that on. I'm actually talking to people now. I'm actually talking to people now to see about whether or not we can bring together multiple cases here in Arizona, from Arizona, and get the parents who have the courage to work with me. We'll put them together and put them in the room with attorneys to talk about this, and that their child graduated with a degree for a diploma, and they have nothing to show for it. They can't get gainful employment. They can't go to college. They can't get a job. They can't read. They can't write. But yet and still, you passed them and said that they earned a diploma. That was a travesty. It is a mismanagement of public dollars, and they talk about the micro schools and ESAs.
Mm.
ESA mismanagement. You've mismanaged millions of dollars, and it's time for you to pay up. And I believe parents need to get that bold because I'm that bold with you. We will walk you through it. And I don't care what state you're in. If you believe your child was deprived of good quality education because of all the other foolishness going on around them, I promise you that school still got their money on your child, and your child has nothing to show for it.
No, I feel like I like in listening to this, it's like, those class action suits that be like,
That's it.
oh, if you use Jergens in the year two,
Mhm.
like you could do that with the schools. Like if you went to this school at this time, da 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 da,
Mhm.
like, hey, file a class
Mhm.
action, get on board with this. And I know the numbers will be astronomical because I used to say it all the time when I was still in the classroom. I used to
Mhm.
say, "Oh, this person's parents need to sue the school system." I used
Yeah.
to say
Yeah.
that so often. And
Hmm.
then to see and see now the school system being sued, I'm like, "Oh yeah, no, kudos to
Yeah.
you."
Yeah. I'm so happy that that young lady did that. Sad. I mean, she was actually an honor student. Both of
Yeah.
these kids who filed suits were honor students, and they had 3.4 and 3.5 GPA. In what year? What land was that? Who told them that that a 3.5 equated to I'm not able to read, I'm not a functional reader, I can't write, and they gave me a 3.5 GPA and called me an honor student. That's a travesty.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
now she's in college struggling because her GPA got her into college and she can't do the work.
Hmm.
So they lied to her. They
Yes,
lied to
ma'am.
her family and they took all of her dollars every year that she got them. And she was a special need. She was on IEP too. And so they got extra dollars for her. And
Hmm.
they did not give her what she needed. I know the case down south, I think it was in Mississippi or Alabama. I want to say Mississippi. A student filed in 2023. They did just award him. They won. That child won, and so the judge awarded them their hours back. Somebody's going to pay for those hours, and that child needs to go now get the education they need.
Oh,
And so it can very well be just that they owe you these hours. They got paid for them. They didn't do what they were supposed to do with them. They now owe this to you. Now they can either pay you and get you the education that they were paid to give you. I don't know how that's going to work out moving forward, but
right.
I'm gonna watch that case to see what happens, the outcomes on that one.
Yes. Oh, Reverend Janelle, this is all so important. I'm so glad that parents are getting to hear this, like really hear and understand just how present they can and should be in their children's educational journey, but
Hmm.
understanding that their voice does matter in those classrooms, in those schools. They
Yes.
have to know that. They have to know that.
Hmm.
All right, so we reached our time, but I got a couple more. Look, couple more questions. I'm sorry, like, okay, one, where do we find you?
Hmm.
How can we find
www
you?
yeah, www.blackmothersforums.com. www.blackmothersforum.com. That is our website. They can actually reach me via email at info@blackmothersforums.com. Or they can call us 602-373-4091. We have all sorts of resources for you. Go to the website. You can see a lot of resources. We have pillars that deal with, prayer, health, and wellness and safety. So we have resources dealing with that. Our education advocacy pillar, that's the one I handle a lot of. And our micro school pillar, learn more about the micro schools. Also, our civic engagement and legislative, working on that now as we continue to move forward with ESAs, not only in Arizona, but across the nation. So I'm here this week in Michigan looking at a school, but also meeting with thought leaders here regarding how do we continue the movement for ESAs across the nation. And we have states here like Michigan. I'm in Michigan. Michigan does not believe in this ESAs, and so they have very limited choice. Their children are failing in their public schools as well. And they
Mhm.
have, unfortunately, they have a governor who does not believe in choice and does not believe that parents can be experts in making sure their children get the education they need. And so they're being blocked on every turn. But what I encourage those states and those parents in those states where they have that type of, government, they still are beholden to you because you voted them in office. And so, what I would suggest is that you all gather, we build coalitions, and we come and we storm the gates. They need to see you again. Visibility is huge, being present is huge. Being on social media talking about it doesn't move the needle. You got to show up in person. You got to invest your time. You got to invest your energy. And they got to see you in person, visibly, repeatedly, saying the same thing over and over and over again till they finally realize you're not playing and you want some action. You also have another power. It's called the vote. Go vote. Vote folks out of office if need be and put the people in place that will support what you need for your children. But we got to start making it a priority. Education should be our top priority, especially in the Black community and in the Brown community, because we know what a great quality education can do for our future generations. And we need to make sure everybody who's sitting in those seats recognize that and that they are catering to that need for us. And if they're not, then they must go and we find someone else who will do that for us.
Oh, yes, big message. Okay, so with all that you do, because you do a lot, okay, and I know you have to reach a point of, okay, I'm a little drained. How do you self-care? How do you take care of Reverend Janelle to make sure that she's, still able and rejuvenated to do what she needs to do for the people?
Yeah. So, I do a lot of praying. And so I spend time, I always call it Jesus time. I spend time with him in the morning. He fills up my cup. But I also spend time with my husband. We do a lot of things together and we just do stuff like, I don't know, we'll go to the movies. I love doing that. I love sitting down and having conversation with friends. I do a lot of that. As far as sitting down myself, I will sit in on my couch. I have a sectional couch, and I have that one space on that couch, and I'll watch me a good movie, take my mind off my life. That makes me sit down.
Nice.
And I love to watch romantic movies, cute movies about children and dogs, and I love old movies and just something to take my mind off of all of the intensity of the work that I do. So
Yeah.
yeah, I do those things. I go get my hair done. I love to get my hair done because keep it short on purpose. Going to the hair salon is one of the most therapeutic things for me because I've been with my hairstylist for, I'd say 20, 30 years. I've been with her a
Oh,
long time.
wow.
I've been with her a long time, and all the women that come in there and we just talk about stuff, that to me is self care. Being able to talk to other Black women and hear what's going on, and we just talk about our children and our families, and it just takes our mind off the intensity of the other work that we get to do. So, those are things
Yes.
that I do at least twice a month to go get my hair done, just to be with other Black women, just hanging out and then just hanging out with my husband. On the weekends we get a chance to sit down on Friday night. We have Friday night date night, and
Oh,
that's when
nice.
we take care of each other, love up on each other, and just spend time together.
Nice. And before I let you go, three things that you want parents to leave, like, hey, if you ain't hear nothing else I've said, and I've said a lot, three things I want you to take with you from this.
Three things that I would like parents to take away from today's conversation is that they
Yes.
have the power. That's number one. You have the power. You also have the responsibility to do something about it. You can't look to everybody else to do it. It is your responsibility. So you have the power. Now you have the responsibility. And third, you must be present. In order for things to change for your child, you have got to show up. But you've got to show up knowing that you got the power to do something about it. And it's your responsibility, not the teachers, not the administrators. It's not the government's responsibility. It is your responsibility. And your children depend on it. And guess what? I'm going to say four. One more thing. You don't have to do it by yourself. So those are the four. You don't have to do it by yourself. Bring people to the table with you wherever you go. And we have power in numbers and we can change things. So I'll give you four things:
Thank you.
power, responsibility, presence, and don't show up alone.
Yes, and I always speak on the you don't have to do this alone. Understand
Mhm.
that there are many Reverend Janelles out here.
Mhm,
Look,
you're right.
and
Mhm.
I'm sure Reverend Janelle is connected with a lot of them. So if you are in a different state than Arizona, by all means, still reach out to her and maybe she can
Mhm.
connect you to where you need to be. Because there are a lot of individuals that are definitely working overtime to make sure that parents are supported. So never
Mhm.
think that you're alone, never think that you have to do it alone. You just have to do some research and make sure you find the
Mhm.
people that are for you. But they are out there. And so much appreciation to you, Reverend Janelle, for all that you're
You too.
doing. Thank you, thank
Mhm.
you, thank you,
Thank you.
always. Parents, hey, she said enough. I don't even have to say anything. It's like she said enough. But there's plenty of food for thought on here. But just remember, you are the most qualified to teach and
Mm-hmm.
lead your children. So never give off, never, 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 never take off that hat, never pass that baton. They are your babies. Bet on you, bet on your family, always.
Love
Homeschool
it.
your kids.
That's right.